El nostre següent ponent ens arriba de bastant més lluny. És el senyor Simon Milne, director associat de l'Escola de Recerca i Desenvolupament i director de l'Institut de Recerca en Turisme de Nova Zelanda. El títol de la seva conferència és Millorar la qualitat dels serveis en les destinacions de muntanya de Nova Zelanda, la importància crítica de la implicació de la comunitat. El senyor Milne és professor de turisme a la Universitat Tecnològica d'Auckland, on és director de l'Institut de Recerca de Turisme de Nova Zelanda. En Simon va complementar el seu doctorat en Geografia Econòmica a la Universitat de Cambridge el 1989 i després va impartir classes a la Universitat McGill de Montreal durant 10 anys abans de tornar a Nova Zelanda el 1999. Durant els últims 30 anys, la investigació que ha realitzat el senyor Simon Milne s'ha centrat en la interface entre el turisme, les tecnologies de la informació i de la comunicació, la comunitat i el desenvolupament econòmic sostenible. Gran part de la seva recerca té com a objectiu desenvolupar solucions aplicades a les necessitats urgents de desenvolupament del turisme, tant en països desenvolupats com en països en vies de desenvolupament. Ha estat assessor de diverses organitzacions internacionals i ha treballat en projectes relacionats amb entorns de muntanya d'arreu del món. La seva ponència abordarà un dels temes d'actualitat i que són els desafiaments als quals s'enfronten les destinacions locals amb l'arribada massiva de visitants i les particularitats i els beneficis que les noves tecnologies poden aportar per minimitzar impactes i afavorir el desenvolupament i la satisfacció de totes les parts. Mr. Simon Milne, your turn.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I've been enjoying the presentations from the last few days and, of course, this morning. I want to talk to you today about how in New Zealand we are trying to improve the quality of the visitor experience and trying to improve the yield or the spend that we get from every visitor. We heard yesterday and actually just recently how important it is to put the customer at the centre of strategy. I'm also going to emphasise today the importance of putting community at the centre of tourism strategy. We need to view community and visitor experience equally if we're going to create sustainable economic outcomes from the industry. I also want to reflect on the discussions yesterday where we focused a lot on big data. There's no question that big data is very important and offers a range of great opportunities. But I'm going to argue today that we also need to think about small data, the data that we can generate to help inform decision-making at a local scale. New Zealand has, for the last 20 years, seen rapid growth in visitor numbers, and that growth has been driven in part by a very active marketing strategy that has focused on our brand of 100% pure. That marketing strategy has seen our visitor numbers grow substantially, from around about 1.5 million in the year 2000 to now closing in on 4 million visitors a year. Our population is 4.5 million. So the growth in visitor numbers has been quite substantial. It's a growth that has been driven by our usual market, our regular market, which is Australia, and our long-haul markets from Europe. But we've also seen in recent years a rapid growth of Chinese visitors. China is now our number 2 market. We've been growing, and our visitor satisfaction is also pretty high. Our net promoter score, if you like, around about 80% of all our visitors when they leave tell us in our international visitor survey that they will actively promote our destination when they go back home. That's a pretty good score, and that's been helping to drive that growth in numbers. It's been helping to improve and sustain our good word of mouth, our user-generated content. Our mountain tourism, our snow sports are also an important part of this growth in our industry. If we look at domestic and international travellers, we can see that there were 1.6 million ski area visits during 2017. That pales in significance to what we've just heard about from Switzerland and France, but for us it's a very important part of our economy and our tourism sector. That has been an 8% growth in the last year. We're anticipating 10% growth this year in ski area visits, and we're targeting 2 million ski area visits by 2020. Unfortunately, though, we do not have a clear sense of just what that means to our economy. That's an area where there needs to be more research and more data gathering done. And I'll talk a little bit later about that as I go through. Our ski areas focus mostly in the South Island, and many of you will perhaps be familiar with our main resort, which is Queenstown and the surrounding mountain areas. We also have some skiing in the central South Island and in the central North Island. And of course, we also have mountains elsewhere, and I'll be giving you an example later in the talk of one mountain on Great Barrier Island, close to where I live in Auckland, which doesn't have any snow, but is still a very important tourism product. So we have an industry that is spread throughout the country, and we're trying to make sure that the economic benefits from tourism are also spread through our communities. Our ski visitors are also important, not just because of their economic value, but because they are a growing number of a growing part of our industry, and as I said before, they are a very substantial, play a very substantial role in bringing economic benefit throughout the country. About 30% of all our visitors claim to ski when they come during the year, and 64% of visitors that visit during the winter months and go to the South Island claim to ski. They stay a little bit longer than our average tourist, a couple of nights extra, 18 nights rather than 16. They are also a little bit more satisfied than our average visitor. The Net Promoter Score is 87% compared to 80% for our average visitor. They give us an overall satisfaction ranking of 9.1 out of 10. So it's a market that is one that we really want to build and sustain and develop over time. So New Zealand overall has been, I think, a bit of a success story in terms of our growth in visitor numbers. And we've also seen, as a result of that growth in visitor numbers, that we have seen an overall increase in the total economic value of tourism to our economy, $10.5 billion in the last year. That's excluding airfare. But the problem for us, and this comes back to something I think that was talked about yesterday as well, is that while we're growing the number of visitors, we're not actually growing the yield or the spend per visitor. And that bottom graph there just shows that over this period of time, the spend per visitor has actually remained fairly static. So although our numbers of visitors have been growing, the quality, the spend, the yield of those visitors has not. That's a challenge for us. How do we start to increase that visitor spend? How do we build yield so that we don't just have to keep growing numbers? That's a much more sustainable way than focusing just on visitor number growth. One of the things that we focus on in New Zealand is obviously improving the visitor experience, visitor satisfaction. If we can do that, we should also be able to raise and improve the visitor spend and the yield and the quality of the visitor. So we have a whole series of research publications from the government that focus on the less satisfied visitor, the dimensions of our visitor product that tends to lead people to be less satisfied. Anyone that rates an element of our tourism product below 7 out of 10 is considered to be less satisfied. And so we have a series of reports that focus on that, and we emphasize different parts of our tourism product and our experiences that are driving that limited satisfaction. We see a lot of comments and feedback from visitors around service quality, around the inability to engage in deeper cultural experiences, especially with our Indigenous Maori population. We see a great deal of concern also about people's inability to really understand the everyday life of New Zealanders. They can see our landscapes, they can enjoy our mountains, but they want to understand New Zealand at a deeper level, and that's an area that we really want to focus on. If we can emphasize the fact that our everyday life in the country is part of the visitor experience, if we can open that up to the visitor, that's something that we can really use to drive improved yield and satisfaction. So that's led the government to introduce a series of strategic initiatives to try and build that yield, to try and focus on quality rather than quantity. We focused on what we call the interactive traveller or the active considerer, people that are coming to New Zealand not just to walk in the mountains or swim in the beaches, but to engage with our culture, to eat our local food and to understand our local people. We're trying to spread visitor flows through the year, reduce our focus on summer and winter months into the shoulder seasons, and make sure that visitors are travelling all around the country to improve community benefits. We're trying to link tourism more closely to our other sectors like agriculture. And we are trying to make sure that we build the heritage and sense of place of our destinations and share that with visitors. We're trying to capture the stories of everyday life from our communities and share those with our visitors. And of course, we're also trying to do everything we can to enhance service quality. The main thing I want to stress here is that each one of those strategic initiatives really depends on community being aware of tourism and buying into tourism. The community has to play a part in co-creating the visitor experience, not just the visitor as we were talking about yesterday. So just to summarise there quickly, we want to build visitor yield. We want a higher quality visitor. We know that we can do that through enhancing the visitor experience. That visitor experience, our focus is on trying to drive that visitor experience through enhanced community interaction, a more immersive and deeper focus on what it is to be a tourist in New Zealand. But that is only going to work, that is only going to be sustained over time if the benefits from tourism come back to the local communities. If the local communities feel that they are benefiting directly and are not having their quality of life destroyed or damaged by the tourism sector. That's why we have to place community at the centre of our tourism strategies, as well as developing tourism consumer or visitor-centric strategies. What are we doing to try and deal with this issue? How are we trying to understand it? Well, the first thing is that our government, every 6 months, has a survey which looks at how our citizens, how the New Zealand people feel about tourism. It's called the Mood of the Nation. And every 6 months we track whether people agree that tourism is good for New Zealand, and you can see here that about 96% of people say they strongly agree or agree with that. But we also ask to people, how much do you feel that the pressure from tourism is becoming too much for New Zealand? And you can see that in the last couple of years, that percentage has grown from 18% to 35%. There are growing numbers of New Zealanders that are concerned about the growing number of visitors and what that means to their quality of life, what it means for their everyday life as New Zealanders. Coming back to the point that was made by our moderator earlier on, we can see this issue most particularly at some of our mountain communities. The ratio of visitors to local people in places like Wanaka or Queenstown is very similar to what you see here in Andorra, 125 to 1, 100 to 1. For New Zealand as a whole, that ratio is only 0.7 to 1. So you can see that visitor numbers and concentrations are really focused on certain communities, and that's where the pressure points are. That's where the tension really grows. All through our media in the last few years, we've seen increasing numbers of articles, increasing numbers of debates. Is the tourism boom destroying our best destinations? What can we do to fix it? Is our focus on freedom camping, where we encourage visitors to get into camping vans and drive around the country and visit our communities, is that starting to put too great a emphasis on local resources? Is it starting to cause a problem for local communities who are having to share their car parks, their toilets, all of those things with increased visitor numbers? How do we manage that problem? We're trying to avoid this kind of situation where we have communities actually saying we don't want any more visitors. We don't want any more camper vans that do not have their own toilets. We have increasing problems with littering, with people going to the toilet in the bushes. We have issues with a number of tension points, if you like, with visitors. And we have to overcome those tensions. We have to understand them better if we are going to have sustained tourism growth and if we are going to improve both the visitor and the community experience. We also can see these kinds of issues when we look at mountain communities and the growth of festivals that surround the ski season, for example. This is one area that we've been working on at the New Zealand Tourism Research Institute. We've done a lot of work in ski area communities over the last 15 years. We focused on Queenstown, and in particular an event there, the Queenstown Festival, Winter Festival, that has been running for 40 years. It's a very successful festival, but in our research what we found was the community were feeling less and less engaged in that festival. It started off as a community event, but it's been taken over by tourism. And community starts to feel that they are sort of second-class citizens within this event infrastructure. So we need to find ways, again, to get a good balance between the tourist and the community. So the key thing is that we need to focus on local insight. We need to actually gather data at a local scale to understand about this, not just at a national scale. We need to gather information to inform what we call decision support systems. Systems of data and information that can allow us to understand not just what is happening with visitor spend and visitor satisfaction, but also with our community satisfaction and how also the business sector feels about these things. The key message is communities will work for tourism, but only if tourism will work for communities. So we have in our decision support system work that we do 3 key pillars: understanding the visitor through surveys, understanding the business community and what they feel about the industry through survey work, and also community surveys. And these are not just one-off surveys, these are barometers that run over time, and they are reported in a very quick and fast fashion so that the information and the feedback comes through very effectively. I just want to show you one example of where we're doing this, and this is in Great Barrier Island, where we have a large mountain called Mount Hobson, which is very much a tourist attraction. For the last few months, we've started to develop a decision support system program here. That's involved community and business surveys, which are held during the low and high seasons, a visitor survey, which has been running on an ongoing basis for the last several months, and it's funded by local government and the Department of Conservation. This is all being used to create an evidence-based tourism strategy that can guide the development of tourism in this particular destination. The visitor survey shows us that visitors are saying that local people are not necessarily welcoming them in the low or the high season. That local residents, when they serve people in the shops, are not always acknowledging them or being friendly to them. And we can see that from the visitor survey, 14% of all visitors are actually saying the least appealing aspect of their visit to this area was the lack of friendliness on the part of local people. 23% of the visitors, when we ask them what needs to be improved, focus on the fact that there needs to be better service. When we look at the community survey, and this just shows you blue community, orange business people in the community, we can see also that many people in the community are not necessarily convinced that tourism is having a positive impact on their quality of life. In fact, it's a fairly even split for most community members when we ask them this question. So there's a real ambivalence and a turning point, if you like, for this community. Businesses tend to be a little bit more positive, but even they are showing some concern about growing numbers and the tensions and problems that go along with them. Even more importantly, when we ask community and businesses the simple question, should Great Barrier attract more visitors? We can see that for the community, there is actually a slight majority of people saying, no, we don't want to attract more visitors. We want to keep the numbers the way they are and grow yield instead. Even among the business community, there is still a sizable percentage of that group that are saying we don't want to just keep growing numbers. We need to reflect on the challenges associated with tourism, and we need to do a better job at improving yield per visitor rather than overall visitor numbers. This is the kind of information that we will be collecting and gathering on an ongoing basis. This information allows us then to create destination indicators. Indicators of performance that are not just based on visitor numbers, but on things like visitor yield, on whether the community is showing satisfaction or not, on whether environmental management is being well handled, and whether things like culture and local history and stories are being integrated effectively into the tourism product. It's only if we start to engage with community and put community at the centre of strategy alongside with the visitor that we are going to have sustainable tourism outcomes for our mountain communities. Thank you very much.
Gràcies, Simon. Com deia, una ponència diferent, basada bàsicament en una mica o en el fet de com d'important és la valoració de la comunitat local en el desenvolupament turístic, quines són les eines de mesurament per poder tenir dades sobre aquesta valoració i poder actuar en conseqüència i, sobretot, un dels grans reptes, créixer en qualitat i menys, possiblement, en quantitat. Fins aquí la primera sessió d'avui, dia 22 de març. Ara, si els sembla, obrirem el torn de preguntes. Els nostres ponents estan a l'espera de les possibles preguntes que vostès els hi puguin fer.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the presentations. I'd like to address this question to Simon. Simon, I'm from Macau, and we share pretty much the same issues of crowdedness and also residents feeling that the quality of life is affected because of growth in tourism. I'd like New Zealand to share with us some strategies that New Zealand has adopted over time to mitigate the negative impact of tourism growth. I know you talked about diverting tourist flows to other less popular sites, but that's easier said than done. And as an open country, you cannot just stop people from coming in during hot seasons. So are there any really practical solutions that New Zealand has come up with over time?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. I think I would first of all say that those government strategies, I'm not actually arguing have been successful. I think when we talk about spreading visitor flows or shifting people into the low season, that can actually increase some of the tensions that we see. It's a bit like sometimes when you're farming, you want to leave a field fallow to recover. If we start to move tourism through all our seasons, that becomes even more of a challenge. I would argue that really the most practical approach we can take is not at a national scale. We need to actually work at a local scale and at a specific destination scale to solve these kinds of issues. I've just been in Macau. Some of my ex-students actually teach there. So I was lucky enough to visit just recently. You're a much smaller place than we are. Our land mass is the same as the United Kingdom. So we're a much bigger country. But I think the answers really have to begin at the local level, at the local scale. And that's why I wanted to drive home that point about small data. Big data is great, but if you want to translate it into meaningful outcomes for planning and strategy at a local scale, it's a challenge. That's why we need to find innovative approaches to collecting visitor, business and community data to help solve those problems at a local level. And we need to make sure that community, in particular, are part of that process, that they are part of the decision and strategy making as well. So I think it's great to think about a national scale, but at the first thing is, how can we make these changes at a local scale?
There is any other question? Yes.
Hola, buenos días. Soy Paloma Fernández de la revista Aire Libre. Y bueno, nosotros el año pasado, con todo el tema de turismo sostenible, fuimos media partner de la OMT e hicimos una gran apuesta por toda ella. Y mi pregunta era para la persona de Suiza saber cómo en los estándares de calidad los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible están presentes, porque bueno, hablamos de unos estándares de calidad de hace muchos años y todo esto lleva una serie de cambios y demás. En algunos casos, los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, como puede ser el tema de utilización del agua y todo eso, pueden estar un poco en contra, vamos a decir, de las necesidades de los clientes por limitar el uso de agua, todo ello. Entonces quería conocer un poco la presencia que tienen en los estándares de calidad todos los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Gracias.
Thank you for your question. In Switzerland, we have several environmental quality labels. And we have, for the Swiss Tourism Federation, we have tried to integrate these environmental aspects in the quality label, the blue quality label. So it's not like a green label, a special label apart. It's integrated. We have criteria about environmental issues in this quality label, and we want to motivate the enterprises to think about this food waste topics, and also how to educate more or less the tourists to have less waste of water, of food, and to think about this, how to work with the guests in order to protect the environment. So that's the way we want to do it in Switzerland, not with a label, an eco-label system, a separate one, but implemented, integrated in this existing quality label, because for us it's a part of the whole quality system, the whole quality service chain, these environmental issues. And then there are several labels also from private organizations or associations for hotels. We have many hotels working also with ISO 14001, this environmental label in the ISO standardization, and several private also initiatives in Switzerland that we are also promoting more or less, but we have this integrated aspect for the quality label. Does this answer your question?
Do we have more questions? Yeah.
Sí, hola, bon dia. Mira, la meva pregunta també va per la senyora Chantal Beck, de Suïssa. Jo li voldria demanar sobre els segells en concret, específicament el familiar, que és el que m'interessa més, d'aquests criteris que segueixen des de Suïssa, específicament amb aquest segell. Voldria demanar-li si entre aquests està un màxim d'habitacions per hotel, és a dir, que quan nosaltres sentim el nom familiar entenem que té que guardar una certa capacitat. Això en primera instància. Després, quin és el paper que juga el propietari de l'hotel familiar en qüestió, o si el dirigeix una família, si la família, quina importància té el propietari, o la família en si, que dirigeix o és propietari de l'hotel. Ha d'estar, és a dir, una mica en el sentit si la seva funció ha de ser presencial, o sigui, tenir contacte amb el client, si això ho tenen en compte. Després, si ja es pot dir que un hotel familiar o amb nivell o amb qualitat familiar, amb aquest segell, ho pot fer una companyia. És a dir, una gran companyia hotelera pot tenir aquest segell de qualitat en família? Gràcies.
So, answering your first question about the size of the hotel, we don't have any number of rooms, specific number of rooms, minimum or maximum. It's just as the hotel we have. We don't really, from this family label that I was talking about, it's for destinations. And the label, it demands, it requires at least one family hotel in the destination. And then the family hotel, this classification is done by the hotel classification. It's a specialization within the hotel classification, the hotel star system. So these are two separate controls. So one hotel is controlled controlled by two organizations, from the Swiss Tourism Federation for the family destination label and then for the hotel classification. But for both labels or both signs, there's no minimum or maximum capacity or rooms or a number of rooms necessary. And then the role of the owners is very important, or of the management. There are criteria concerning the attitude or presence of the people managing the hotel, especially in cases of considering feedback management, if there are complaints or something like that. And they get supplementary points for the criteria, for the label, for the classification. If, for example, the hotel management, hotel director, or the owner proposes a family program, an activity or something, treasure hunt, or activity or something else. So this gives supplementary points for the specialization in the classification for the family hotels. It's also very important to have this criteria a little bit flexible. You cannot really compare a small family hotel to a big chain hotel. So we have also these flexible criteria, and there's always an auditor from our label. There's an auditor doing one audit for the whole day, and really also testing these activities. And then he uses also how do you say that, human sense to really evaluate what is proposed as activity or as a family occupation from the hotels and also the other enterprises. So he also, we have these fixed criteria, and then we have supplementary points for the software factors that you cannot really compare from one hotel to another. So we have several kind of criteria for this specialization, if I can say it. Sorry. Hope this is answering your question.
If there is time, just one last question, if there isn't. If not, okay, so you want to go to breakfast? Oh, there is one there, all right, sorry.
Buenos días, mi pregunta es para el señor Víctor Gorga. Hemos entendido que hoy en día son los clientes que valoran los hoteles y los alojamientos turísticos, sobre todo a través de portales y sistemas de valoración como TripAdvisor, Booking. Mi pregunta es, ¿quién controla estos sistemas de valoración? Más que nada la fiabilidad. Por ejemplo, tenemos sistemas como Booking, donde solo pueden entrar a valorar clientes que han estado en el hotel que están valorando, y tenemos sistemas como TripAdvisor, donde yo ahora mismo puedo salir, crearme un perfil, entrar y valorar cualquier establecimiento sin haber puesto un pie dentro. Quería su opinión al respecto.
Bien, gracias por la pregunta, porque yo creo que es muy pertinente. Yo lo que he mencionado es que sí, en efecto, estos portales, digamos así, están teniendo más eco probablemente que las certificaciones, los sellos de calidad y las marcas de calidad, pero sí, en efecto, no hay control, hay bastante sesgo en las opiniones que se presentan, y el sesgo ya no se debe, digamos así, a un efecto marketing o a un efecto de, vamos a decir, de mala voluntad, de poder entrar y dar opiniones sin, digamos así, sin ningún control. Mira, por ponerte un ejemplo, hicimos hace un par de años un estudio muy grande con tecnología semántica referido a la competitividad de un destino, y nos bajamos y analizamos con robótica más o menos 1 millón de opiniones en Internet, que se dice pronto. La robótica lo que nos permite es, digamos así, desagrupar digamos, las opiniones en función de una serie de criterios, y también nos permite analizar los estados de ánimo del momento, cómo se expresa esa opinión y en qué contexto se expresa, ¿no? Y entonces descubrimos cosas muy curiosas. descubrimos que hay, por ejemplo, hay bloggers en Internet, ya no estoy hablando ni siquiera de las páginas que mencionas, hay bloggers en Internet que sin haber pisado un destino o sin haber pisado un establecimiento, tienen un gran predicamento en el mercado y realizan opiniones, por lo general, no muy positivas, no sé si intencionadas o no, pero no muy positivas, y tienen, ya digo, mucho impacto en el mercado, no ya solamente por los seguidores, sino por la gente que los, digamos así, que los escucha, ¿no? En efecto, no hay control. Yo creo que el plantear, hacer una evaluación de un establecimiento en consideración de las opiniones en redes sociales, en portales, como antes decía, es una información sesgada. Y ahora mismo, en teoría, estos portales deberían establecer esos medios de control. De hecho, en algunos de ellos solamente puedes versar una opinión si realmente te has alojado. Pero también es cierto, y esto tiene que ver con el sesgo que antes decía, nosotros solamente emitimos opiniones o cuando nuestra experiencia ha sido muy interesante o cuando ha sido totalmente negativa. Y no es lo mismo versar una opinión de manera reflexiva que hacerlo de manera totalmente emocional. O sea, yo puedo ir a un restaurante, por ejemplo, haber tenido una mala experiencia e inmediatamente en mis redes sociales decir este sitio es una porquería. Nosotros cuando hacemos esos análisis de información, este tipo de informaciones las retiramos y, como antes decía, se puede ver por la forma como está escrita si son opiniones de alguna manera reflexionadas o no. Pero el usuario, pero en cualquier caso, esa opinión, o sea, yo te lo digo como investigador, yo puedo discriminar esa información, pero el usuario que se informa en esas páginas no tiene esa posibilidad y esa herramienta y esa información queda en lo positivo o en lo negativo. O sea que sí, concuerdo contigo y no hay control en ese aspecto.
Sí. Yes, you can add.
That's very interesting to have the scientific point of view about
Wait.
that. But what is interesting is to manage TripAdvisor as well.
I don't know if they listen. Just a second.
Is it okay? Shall I try again?
Yeah, Natasha, just wait a second.
Is it okay for you? Does it work?
No.
Is it okay? Yeah, now it's okay. Just want to add another position from the scientific one regarding TripAdvisor, Zoover, Holiday Check, and so on, because it's not only a question about TripAdvisor. It's a question that how we manage the relationship with our guests first, how they express their opinion and the problem that they may have met or not. And we have first to use this kind of tools to have a discussion with our guests, because from time to time you never see your guest from a stay, from the beginning till the end, but he will post bad reviews. So how can we intervene on that? You can ask when the review seems to be false and ask to TripAdvisor to put it out, but they are the master. They are mastering the system, so they can agree or not. And you need a very good reason to make this review disappear. And then there is another very important impact on the business, because you have a rank. And people are checking what the community is telling, and they're taking the opinions into account to make a decision. I think they are rather critical because they are able to see where the emotion is and what is the global note which is given to an hotel, to a destination. And from time to time, this is a system which is changing the rules. When we talk about algorithm by Google, remember that we can apply that to TripAdvisor. Every week, we have a general meeting from the staff of the hotels to Mountainlikers. And last week, we knew that the algorithm from TripAdvisor moved 10 days ago or 12 days ago, and the rank was far better. And we had very few new reviews. So who's doing the rules on the ranking? I'm not sure it's even the customer who is making the rules by giving the reviews. It's the system who is managing that. So on the whole, when you make it, when you meet your customers, the guest expectation, he was happy with the service, that's perfect. On the whole, you will get a 8, 9, 10 if you are very good. And if you are bad, anyway, your level will be low. So I would say on a global basis, this is really reflecting the situation. But from time to time in details, and we are in details when we are managing an hotel, you check, you really need to get the feedback from your customers, and you need them to be happy. Then those influences that you are not able to manage, you have to find solution, give right answer. And as I always say, it's very hard to lie every day, so avoid to lie. It's really easier to manage. So you have to be honest and frank. We are, as I said, we are doing hospitality jobs. This means human relationships. So for sure you will make errors, that's sure. You will improve it, but when you do errors, you have to recognize it and say, okay, we made it false, and we will compensate, we will help, we'll be there and really efficient. So we really have to engage the communication with our guests when we welcome them, both on the front desk and on the social medias, not only TripAdvisor, but it's the same. You know, now you have to take into account that a star on Google, a star on Facebook is important for your own business because it's bringing SEO on your website. So everything is to be taken into, it's a global digital world. The opinion, whatever may the support be, is important. You don't master everything, but you have to really to get in touch with the community and to live with her and to explain and to have this relationship because it's a whole system working all together, and the small detail changing has got a direct impact on what you're doing. And afterwards, as a provider, you really have to play the game and to improve. If what you're doing in your restaurant is not good, you cannot complain. Do the job, and then it's okay.
Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, I think there is one last question.
Sí. Bé, jo no és una pregunta, tampoc volia intervenir, però crec que tinc que intervenir com a ministre de Turisme després de la reflexió que ha fet el senyor Víctor Gorka, perquè crec que crec que l'opinió ha sigut una mica alarmista en quant a la fiabilitat de les opinions a les plataformes de valoració online. I ho dic sobretot perquè nosaltres a Andorra ara estem en una fase de canviar la reglamentació de classificació per donar les estrelles tant als hotels com als altres tipus d'allotjaments, i amb aquesta nova reglamentació incorporarem com a element per donar les estrelles la reputació online dels allotjaments turístics. Llavors, jo crec que d'un costat sí que és cert que segurament hi ha una part de les opinions que segurament no les donen potser als clients que han anat a aquests allotjaments, però crec que és una part minoritària que, i estic molt d'acord amb el que ha dit la senyora Natasha Blanc, que finalment, globalment, si ho fas malament, la puntuació global sortirà negativa i globalment, si ho fas bé, l'opinió sortirà positiva, més enllà d'alguns elements o algunes persones que potser han valorat i no han anat a aquests serveis. Ens consta que aquestes grans plataformes, perquè parlem amb elles, perquè les farem servir per tenir aquesta puntuació, tenen algoritmes per detectar si algú repetidament està puntuant malament o algú no ha pogut anar o no ha anat a aquella zona i està puntuant. Hi ha elements de control i això s'està aplicant. I només per acabar, vull donar una dada que jo crec que és rellevant i una mica per validar o per estar d'acord amb l'opinió de la Natasha. Nosaltres ranquegem l'opinió de Booking, la ranquegem amb tots els hotels d'Andorra, del millor al pitjor, això ho sabem, i ranquegem també l'opinió de TripAdvisor dels millors als pitjors hotels d'Andorra. I el rànquing és gairebé al 100% de similar, tant amb Google, amb Booking com amb TripAdvisor. El que s'ha dit aquí és veritat, TripAdvisor pot opinar qualsevol i a Booking opinen els clients que van als allotjaments. Però és per dir realment que si ho fas bé ja pots agafar la plataforma que vulguis, sortiràs bé, i si ho fas malament no. També estic d'acord amb la Natasha que dir després, quan baixes al detall d'algun hotel, hi pot haver, potser, si tens poques opinions, una valoració que no reflecteix la realitat. És a dir, el detall no reflecteix. Nosaltres aquí, quan farem aquesta nova reglamentació, si un hotel, un allotjament, no està d'acord amb l'opinió que surt a les xarxes, li permetrem tenir una segona valoració, o a través d'enquestes o a través de mystery guest. Seria com en el cas mèdic, la segona opinió mèdica, si el metge que vas de referència no estàs d'acord amb el que t'està fent. Amb la qual cosa jo crec que amb aquesta segona opinió que permetrem i que si no està d'acord el propietari de l'hotel o de l'allotjament turístic amb aquesta primera, ja en certa forma matem el debat aquest de si és fiable o no aquesta opinió. I per acabar només dir que el nostre sistema serà molt senzill. Tu tindràs unes puntuacions, unes valoracions globals pels teus equipaments dins del teu allotjament, en funció de les teves puntuacions tindràs unes estrelles, però si la teva valoració de reputació online és molt negativa, et baixaran els punts i hauràs de baixar de categoria, i si és més alta d'una mitjana, tindràs més puntuació i podràs pujar de categoria. Bàsicament serà el nostre model de classificació i d'atorgament de categories a partir d'ara. Moltes gràcies.
Just one, but it should be short, please, because we are out of time. All right.
Hola, buenos días. Sí, voy a ser súper breve. Yo siempre que vengo a estos eventos y congresos, siempre digo lo mismo. Es decir, aquí esto se solucionaría de una manera muy sencilla. Primero, urge urgentemente a la Unión Europea regular este tipo de empresas, los TripAdvisors. Tan solo sería, digamos, necesario que las personas que estén afiliadas a TripAdvisors se identificaran con su DNI, su pasaporte y especificaran el día de la fecha de entrada y salida. Con esto creo que evitaríamos prácticamente este tipo de problemas. Y después, por otra parte, sí que me gustaría ver si a nivel de lo que se está comentando ahora mismo para todo el tema lo que es de calidad y llevar un código de buena fe por parte de todas las empresas, si por parte de la OMT, la Organización Mundial del Turismo, habría algún tipo de sello a nivel mundial que pudiera regular este tipo de políticas y que certificara este tipo de establecimientos. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, justamente creo que desde la OMT pueden darnos una breve...
Okay. Good morning. Thank you very much for that question. Actually, I had just asked to speak about it when you mentioned UNWTO. In the last 2 years, our World Committee on Tourism Ethics has been working on the recommendations for users and platforms, on the use of, for the users and platforms to do the reviews. So actually last year in our General Assembly, there was a first batch of recommendations for all stakeholders, the users, the businesses, the platforms that use them, and these recommendations have been discussed and presented to the European Commission, which has very much appreciated the work done. As it is a very complex work, it's not final, I mean, the recommendations are there, but it's going to continue for some more time in order to see if it can still be improved. But those of you who are interested can go to the website of UNWTO, which is unwto.org, and also engage with, not only to see, but to engage with suggestions and comments on the work that has been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew.
Doncs ara sí, moltes gràcies. Farem una breu pausa per aquest cafè, aquest coffee break de 30 minuts i després els tornem a emplaçar aquí per seguir amb les següents sessions de treball. Agraïm a tots els ponents i a tots els conferenciants i tornarem també amb el moderador, amb el senyor Enric Torres. Fins aquí, això, 30 minutets.